Hello, welcome to Actual Play Burning Wheel with Jed myself. This is Into the Vault, the second saga in our series. I am playing Polara the Pillar, Dragonsworn, Prince of the Vault, and I think even Evictor of Spiders was yet another title she was given. I'm very excited. Last time we left off with Polara sort of securing her hold. Polara being a tunneler, an excavator, who sort of by hook or crook gained control of one of the mountains and has now claimed it for herself as prince of the vault. She is so last time we left off with her sort of securing her hold, but the spiders causing horrific bloodshed to the human communities to the south. And so now we're going to see how her wedding with, not her wedding, the wedding of her daughter brings the Dwarven princes and the Elven Etharc and the trolls together, and hopefully to celebrate, but also hopefully to do something about them spiders. So I'm very excited about that. As always, the contributions to the channel through subs or whatnot will go to be split between the Trans Legal Defense Fund and Black Lives Matter. So if you give us money, that's where that's going. And if you'd like to help in non-financial ways, we have some links for that, which I'll put in chat. Yeah, I think that's me. How about you, Jed?
I'm fine. Yeah, I've spent the last 2 weeks looking at a part of the map that I wrote 2.5 years ago.
Probably,
and so
yeah.
let that be a lesson to you when you make up 7 mountain names and think, oh yeah, there's a Dwarven holdfast in each one. Eventually you're going to have to write a Dwarven holdfast whose mountain name is the Drunk Uncle, and you're gonna have to stand by that name.
Yep.
And the Jewel Womb, and it's as it turns out, I like them all, but there were a couple of times where I was looking at it and I was like, oh, what was I never thought the game was going to go here. I just
You never thought you'd have to make that location.
I never ever thought we were going to get here. I was like, oh, maybe the Freehold of Ostafair, which I don't even think the words of that have come out in game, like never. So yeah, it's just funny that when you make a map, just be careful. You don't know, you just don't know. You don't know how if you're going to end up having to go there and make up a whole political system based on those names. But it turns out it holds up, and it's better to name things than not name things. So it worked out. Yeah, it's good, and I'm excited to share these weird and wonderful world with Sean and with you all, and I think it's going to be pretty damn cool. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I really appreciate that you did all that, because it's just, I mean, I think it's a good rule of gemming, right? It's like, start small, find a part of the world that you care about and
Right.
build it out, and let the other stuff be vague and define it later. But in this case, we started with Bina Janos as like, it's the war between the humans and between the elves and the dwarves, and so like those big things need to be made so that we could have that small thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you kind of paint it with a very broad stroke, right? Yep, there's 7 Dwarven princes, right? I mean, at least you got a pass on Orkhant, right? You didn't have to make that. You could.
Right. Well, I mean, I've got ideas, but yeah, it's also, there's a problem because like Vault was squatted in by a dragon, and then like Orkhant was lost to orcs. Like it just suddenly it feels redundant, right? And it's just kind of weird. But it's not terrible. It's not terrible, and it is different enough that I think it's interesting. But yeah, it's a thing, and it's interesting. It's been fun. It's been fun to look at all that stuff and flesh it out and think about what's in there. And I mean, you say thank you, but like none of that is a labor to me. Like it's super fun. It's nice to have a reason to do it. And I don't know, it's more fun to make this stuff up thinking this is all stuff that needs to challenge, it needs to like make sense in the world and and makes sense with what we've all been doing so far, but it also needs to kind of challenge Polara's beliefs. And so
Right.
like I have an angle, right? I'm not just making up the dwarf like seven dwarven princes and their families, from nothing.
Right. I mean,
I
I think that's the
yeah,
best. That's the best thing to work off of is you take things that have happened in game and think like
right,
that was a neat thing that happened. Maybe that could be connected to this,
right,
or the
right.
characters have these beliefs, ideas. Uh, how do I bring that in as well? So yeah,
Yep.
I think it's great. I mean, I love
Thanks.
you know yeah. So it's
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun part of the game. It's a fun part of gaming. I dig it. I just yeah, it was definitely things I wrote up a long time ago and never thought I was ever going to deal with, and then here we are. So it's a funny thing, and it's cool. I like it. I think that yeah, the most important thing is to give yourself something there so that you've got some structure or something to riff off of,
yeah.
um, and everything else can come from that. Uh, so yeah, it was good. We've had enough structure and we've seen enough of dwarven society that it was fun and easy to kind of figure out, uh, how I wanted to do it. So yeah, it's neat. I'm looking forward to digging into these folks,
Nice,
seeing
nice.
seeing what kind of prince Polara is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I am too, right? I don't think Polara, I mean, I know Polara had zero aspirations to be Prince. And, this was one of those things where it's like, here's the opportunity to reclaim something that was lost a long time ago, but then maybe wasn't really lost because Venera was actually originally a dwarf. That was the big lore bomb that Judd dropped 2 sessions ago, I think. That
Yeah.
Venera, the dragon, was just a dwarf so consumed with greed that she locked herself up and like a beautiful caterpillar turning into a butterfly. She just no, she was utterly consumed by greed and never wanted to see the rest of the world. Uh, but you know, for Polara, it was a large part of like returning it to dwarves, but it was also a large part of she saw how horribly treated the trolls were and like wanted to make sure that they had a home. And part of that was putting her foot down and saying, well, I'm going to make this place a safe place for dwarves, and I'm also going to make it a safe place for humans if they are running scared from those spiders that I've just
Right.
unleashed. So,
Right.
she carries a lot of guilt about those spiders, even though she couldn't stop them, but she does not make her feel less bad about them. So yeah,
Yeah.
should we do beliefs? Or do you want to do some introduction of the
No, no, no. Let's do beliefs, and then we'll get into the rest.
cool. All right. All right. Let me move that
Yeah.
over. Okay. No, just barely fits. Amazingly, Polara doesn't have an oath belief right now because
Whoa.
she has some oaths that have been sworn to her, but she's got an open belief slot for making oaths. So that's. I was like, what do I have for the dwarves? What do I have right now? And I was like, yes, I have a chest full of treasures I can give them, but I also have an open oath belief that I can just make on the fly. So this is, I was okay with that because I was like, I'm betting I will make some oath by the end of session tonight to do that because all her oaths were satisfied. But yeah, um, my beliefs are Bella's wedding is the first chance for dwarves, elves, and trolls to celebrate together in ages. I will unify them all in a common task, restoring the apps of earth and sky. And in my mind, that's just the thing I made up. It's part of the vault. But in my mind, there is this. We had talked about the vault having skylights effectively, and I think it's the place where the wedding will take place. Is this semicircular apse that has an altar on it with a sort of an ancient tome, an ancient dwarven tome, but it also has thus the earth, but it also has these skylights above it with these beautiful stained glass that I think was originally elven make. I want to say, or was not dwarven craftsmanship, and so the light, sort of the rainbow scintillation of light that kind of pours down through the glass is beautiful. And I think that glass was broken and destroyed long ago. And so, and they, and there's damage to the apps. So this is me inventing a task to try and bring the dwarves, the elves, and the trolls together. Me as Sean inventing a task. I think for Polara, this is a very real thing that, like, before the wedding, she wants that to be done, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. Before Fione was Axel Leonce Orco, he was the Elven Etharch's brother. I will share my memories of him with her, and in turn ask that she tell me what drove him to such hate. I don't know why I'm so interested in Axo. I don't know why I care about him, but I do. I don't think he's redeemable, but I do think he's a lesson in, I don't know, toxic masculinity, in holding on to hate, in being so self-centered that you can't see the effects you have on the world around you.
Yeah.
And and I think there's sort of an invisible part of that belief, which is also hoping that the Etharch will help to do something about him. But I didn't want to write that in because I kind of want to see what she thinks. Because if she's like, he's dead to me, I don't care about him anymore, then that's very different than, it hurts me that he's doing this thing. And so we'll see. We'll see where that goes. This belief might involve more. We'll find out. And then finally, she who eats the dragon says that she has no quarrel with the dwarves, but murders humans in droves. I will present the princes with gifts so resplendent they agree to bring the quarrel to her, a crossbow quarrel. Sorry, that was really, really, really dorky of me. But I remember those mithril crossbow bolts, and I was like, quarrel has multiple meanings. I will do wordplay.
Nice.
And then her instincts are mostly the same, but I have a new instinct. My one new instinct was, when I'm unsure about the best way to govern, consult the broodmother. And she's given me some good advice in the past, and I think at this point Polara has come to consult her often, and nice. To have her in her. I don't know what Polara's like governing structure is. I'm not super interested in detailing all that out, but I think that she's a part of it.
Cool.
She's an advisor or
in
charge of some things. So yeah, that's me.
Sounds good. Do we want to start with a lifestyle check and just see how Polara is doing as like a prince, and like how, I don't know, I'm just trying to get an idea of like how populated is this place, have people come? Have you been able to, do the things you need to do to draw them in?
I think that's super good.
And I think that'll set set for the rest of this.
Yeah, lifestyles. All right. Here we're doing it. We're doing the thing that everybody loves. Hey, DLV, thanks for joining us. Thunderchild 15 remembers crossbow quarrel forever. Thank you. Yes. So we're doing the thing that we do that is the best streaming ever, which is reading from the book. This is page 371 of the Burning Wheel Gold book. Oh, by the way, I have this thing now. If you are interested in getting a copy of Burning Wheel, it is actually on sale right now on the Burning Wheel store for $30, which is criminally cheap.
Tell them Polara sent you.
Yes. Resources are more than about making a single purchase once in a while. They also represent your lifestyle of your character. You must pay for your lifestyle, however. The piper comes calling on what we will call the maintenance cycle. The duration of the resource cycle is determined by the player and the GM on the outset of the game. I think we're calling it a year. I mean, unless we want to do several of them, but
I think 1 year is good.
Yeah, it reflects the interval of time between all your hard work and when you get paid for it. At the outset of the game, determine what general resources cycle will be. I think we're going to get into this in a little bit, but there's also something about like, what are you doing? And I think in the case of Polara, it's excavating, right? Like we found the gold vein, and like there's more there. So it's, Polara is actively also fostering her, her resources.
And just like setting up a house. I mean, I think it's setting up a holdfast. I think there's probably a bunch of things that Polara never knew about, and they're probably the lucky thing is that they're at a library, so they can literally look it up and see like, right, how does this work? You know,
That's so
when was the last
true.
time? When was the last time a new holdfast was founded? Um, and you know, I think Gaffey is definitely you know, making a killing on his research roles, and
Yeah.
you know, saying, hey, listen, this is what they did. They, you know, put out a call, and you know, and you put out a call to the clans, and then you know, you pay this guilder, and you know, send a letter to the princes, and you know, and yeah, you see how it goes. So yeah, I mean, it seems like your lifestyle. I mean, so Ob 8 is a counts court or a small castle or a big industry like a mining operation.
Yep.
That seems
That
like
seems
the
right.
one, right?
Yeah. Oof. Okay. So yeah, so that's the lifestyle I'm trying to reach. I have a resources of B3, which you know, feels right in terms of like Polara is like there's a lot of ways in which Polara is very oddly equipped to be a good leader, specifically that she has so many wises. Um, but here's definitely one that she is not equipped to do, which is how to run finances and whatnot. So
Right.
an ob 8 obstacle with her B3 resources is a very good uh, point. But I also want to sort of bring in what happens. Unlike the body, resources don't recover on their own. They must be replenished to rejuvenate depleted resources. And I say this because I was taxed at the end of last session
Right.
by because I missed my ob 10 resources test by one, and so I was taxed
Right.
one. Um, uh, uh, the player describing how he's going about earning cash, closing deals, and refunding his accounts. Such behavior should typically be related to the character's lifestyle and the maintenance obligations, and must be tied to one or more of the character's skills. Get a job. I'm basically trying to figure out whether I can recover that taxed die before I have to make this test, and
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I think I can, because this is meant to reflect the year of lifestyle, and I think
Yeah.
within that time I may have been able to do this. So pick a so this is page 373. Get a job. Establish what job occupation the character is undertaking. Pick a skill to represent this. Test the skill. Appropriate forks are allowed. The obstacle is 1 plus the number of dice lost. Meeting the obstacle recovers 1d. Margin of success replenishes additional dice for success. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to try and recover my one tax die, and then I'm going to try and make this horrible test, and then I'm going to be working on recovering whatever I lost off that, because I'm sure I will off that as well. But
Right.
I don't think I'm hitting on bait. But if
Right.
that sounds good to you, if
That
that
sounds
seems
great. That sounds
reasonable.
great.
All right. The time for a test is equal to the current resources cycle. Okay, so basically I get to make one of these effectively a year, right? Like I can only use my get a job ability once per cycle. So I will forever be probably in this debt cycle of like, I try to recover, I have to do it, I have to recover again. Seems right.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable. So let's see. I'm going to use, I don't have steward. I think steward is like the governing skill. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. I should
Um,
practice that.
yeah. I also want to talk about another, you know, part of this book that says on page 374, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Let's do what has made this stream totally famous and look at the steward skill.
Yeah.
Maybe do something real sexy like read it out loud, and
I
then
mean,
we'll
we could do that because I have practice time that I'm spending. So I think for this first year, maybe excavation is the way she's making the money, but in
yeah.
future years, maybe steward is the right
Yeah.
call. You know, if I can train
Cool.
it up.
And I think so. There's a thing that says certain conditions that arise in game might benefit a character's resources, a promotion in rank, popularity, or status, for example. So, like, if you were a knight who had, you know, if you were a human knight, and the arc of this game had been you know, saved your count, and they gave you, you know, a small barony, then maybe I would up your resources. But I
Mhm.
think you kind of like planted your feet and said the prince.
Yeah.
And I think not having any resources go up shows how rigid dwarven society is, and how the dwarven nobles are not helping you.
Yeah.
um, I think the clanborn are uh, definitely rooting for you, and you're getting lots of letters of support
Hmm.
and all kinds of stuff. And we might even I might even give you a bonus die for the lifestyle check, just because I think that they're sending you like good people, and they're working harder than they otherwise might.
Right.
But yeah, you're not getting like the extra resources that you might get if all of the dwarven princes were throwing in behind you and being like, yeah, we should help her out, because they're
Yeah.
not. And they're kind of watching, like you can kind of feel them, like watching and saying like, okay, you said you were the prince,
Yeah. Yeah.
congratulations.
Can you? Yeah. So I actually looked. I don't think there is a steward skill. That must have been from a
Yeah,
different Burning Wheel game. But there is an administration skill, which is
administration and accounting. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah.
cool.
Um,
uh but that's not what you're doing now, right? What
I
you're
don't
doing
think
now
so.
is you're jumping in there and like excavating, and like
Yeah.
you're
I'm including a year of excavation as part of my practice assignment as well. And the way I see this is that even though, yep, she's in charge, like Polara is also the one who, fact of the matter, besides Dedi, who is the best tunneler known to dwarves, who is here, but
yeah,
Polara is the second best excavator. And
right,
so, and she also had spent already a year down in the tunnels planning things out. She had, and I think in Polara's mind, she had like a 5-year plan of
yeah,
recovering, of finding veins for Venera and recover and digging into them. So I think she's still enacting some of that. It's just now it's going into the Bolt's treasury, as it were. So yeah, so I'm going to it's a special skill. Okay. Good. I think I can unlock administration this year. That's good. Good timing. But let's make a excavation roll.
yeah. And
And
the ob is 2, right? Because you have one
the
die
is
to
two.
gain.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this should be pretty easy. I'm going to ba, 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 ba. This is specifically for this is excavation for the plan of recovering resources.
Okay.
So I think the only thing I want to fork in here is troll wise, because I'm basically at this point still, I think until the clan is here, I think this is, how can I effectively get the broodmother and the trolls to eventually like take over this? Like, how do I eventually shift these responsibilities
Wow.
to them?
Cool.
I think that's what she's doing, because I mean, obviously the pull of like having to answer all the leadership questions is going to just get heavier and heavier. So does that sound good to you?
Yeah, it sounds great.
All right. Excavation, 1 modifier, no Artha, ob 2. Oof, thank you, Trollwise. Okay, I just hit it.
Okay.
And I think with my practice, that's gonna actually, well, it won't yet, but once I do my practice time, excavation takes forever to practice. I will, that'll go up. So, all right, that puts me at 0 tax dice. So I can roll my full my entire B3 resources straight. Ob 8, you're giving me plus 1 bonus die for my support from the clan, right?
Yeah, I think the clans are just really throwing in behind you, and when you are reaching out and asking for folks, I think in a normal situation you'd be getting not so great people,
Yeah.
and the clans are not letting that happen. They are sending you the cream of the crop, and there are just a lot of, I think, young up and coming dwarves who want to go work with you, you know,
Yeah.
and there's this new prince who's clanborn, and you know, she sees to her own tunnels, and talks to the foreman, you know, every shift, and
Yep.
it's, you know, it's this ridiculous honor,
I,
and yeah.
yeah, that makes total sense. I think I think I want to, you know, I don't want the princes to see me in a state of disrepair. I don't want them to
Right.
see me I don't want to be groveling when they get here. So
Right.
what is Polari greedy for? Not gold or gems, but status.
The power, yeah.
Power and status. Those are
So
things she cares about. So I think I'm going to spend
yeah,
my persona to invoke greed on this, because
nice.
it's very
um
much like making every coin count and all that.
yeah, and I think the other thing that happens is your husband makes his way from Wheelholt with like your household,
Yeah.
you know, being what it was. It's probably like a small, you know, one room, you know, it was like a small apartment, or you know, something like that. I think he did okay, but he wasn't. Neither of you were wealthy,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Does
his
that mean
name
he's going to
is.
help me with his resources as well? Is he going to
He
invest?
is, yeah, he is going to help
Cool.
you as he can, and I think he was a gilder. I
Mm-hmm.
think he was like he was a trader who like went from, in the old days when he was young, probably before he met you, he would go from Holdfast to Holdfast and like sell Wheelholt goods out at the Drunk Uncle, and then buy things, and then like sell his way back in these like tunnel
Mm,
and over hill caravans. And so he kind of knows, he's a little worldly, like, and but that wasn't a side of him that you ever saw. Like you would hear him tell stories,
right.
but you never. I think by the time he met you, he was kind of almost retired, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and older, and kind of a you know, a gilder speculator, you know, and um, yeah, I just really like the two of yours relationship. His name is Koka,
Okay.
K
Okay.
H K H O K Khokha. There
Okay.
might be a little ch in there if it's Chechen, so I apologize if I'm like,
Yeah.
if it's Koka, and yeah, let's do that. I like Koka,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and he, yeah, I like how pragmatic you guys are. I like that you swore to a dragon and he heard about it and he was like, okay, she'll be all right, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and then you declared yourself prince, and he was like, okay, I'll close up the house. That's what she would want me to do, and then
Right.
I'll go visit her. You know, I'll go see her when everything's done. I gotta get all this work done first, and I just
Yeah.
like that I don't know. I like that you two are like this pragmatic old married couple. I just think it's cool. But yeah, I think there is like this reunion, and I think it's been over a year, you know, and
Right. Because he didn't
you know,
come immediately, right? Like Bella and
yeah,
Toman, they all came, you know, at the drop of the hat. But he was like, no, we don't just. I can't just pick up and go. We've got to bring our whole
yeah,
family. We've got to bring our whole
yeah,
business. We've got to bring our, you know, everything we do.
yeah,
And yeah, so I love that it took him some time
yep,
to you know
yeah.
to
I yeah, I also think he had this, like, he had to like drop his mother with his sister. You know, I get this feeling that there was
I
like
love it.
a very disapproving mother-in-law who was like, you should not be marrying a clanborn. You work so hard to be a gilder, and now, you know, you're marrying this young tunneler because she's got a pretty beard, and you're silly, and he married you anyway, and pushed the deal through, as they say. And yeah, I think that's really cool. But I think she never really approved of you fully. And
I can see
so
that.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So he dropped her off with his sister, and then came to get you. Um, and here we are. Yeah, and I think he looks around and says, "Look what you did. This is amazing."
I think I think Polaris is maybe this is after we've already sort of had that first embrace, first sort of contact, but yeah, she says, I mean, it it started as me, but then it was me and Broodmother and me and Gaffy and me and Bella and Toman and Hertho and all the others. It's we couldn't let this go. Like, she doesn't know how to quite take the compliment. Like, she's not like, no, it wasn't a big deal, but she doesn't quite know how to take the.
Yeah, I think he says, I thought the most exciting thing that ever was ever going to happen to me was the time that those orc attacked my cart, attacked my merchant caravan, and we drove them back with, arquebus fire. But I thought that was it. That was like the height of my adventuring life. But you've made sure my retirement is not going to be boring.
Yeah, so much. I think I say there was a time when I was ready to retire as a middling nogger, and the plans for retirement seem like they've escaped us both. We're going to be very busy for we're going to be very busy for a very long time, I think.
Good. Let's get to work.
Yeah. As soon as he says, let's get to work, she's just like, I know I'm right. There's been so many people. She's been like, come on, let's go to work. It's just like coax. And the fact that like that's his nature. She was just,
that's totally why you two. Yeah. Cool. Love it. So let's make this roll. Let's just see what's going on in this place.
Cool.
So he throws out some ideas as you're going, and he says, we could get a loan from the Guilders.
Seems like that's and I think at some point, like, I show him, like the vault part of the vault, the enormous like coins and goods, the splendors and the jewels. And I said, we have all of this gold and gems and wealth, but I think in order to establish ties with the Guilders, they would feel safer if they had a debt that I owed them. In order to establish credit with them, I think it makes sense to start borrowing and not deplete this, and not deplete our what we have on hand. So if you could broker a trade, broker a loan, I think that would be a good start to.
Well, I mean, it's fine. I mean, you're not spending directly from the Dragon's Hoard. You've set up a fund, so this should last us a long time. And I think, like, as he says that, your stomach kind of drops because you have not set up a fund.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that was you, Judd, telling me as a player.
No. That was your husband saying, like, well, it's not like you're spending Dragon Coin. You've set up a fund on the strength of it, so that, and he like starts getting into like
but she sort of looks at him and she's like, tell me slow that part down a little bit again.
Right. And I think like he watches a messenger go by with like 3 ancient gold coins, like this big, with like rings in the middle, so that you can like latch it onto your cloak and walk out with it. And he realizes, like, oh shit, you are spending the Dragon Hoard coins. So page 374, occasionally a character will come into a substantial infusion of wealth, a large sum of cash, property, valuable antiques, or even bulk quantities of saleable goods. These durable boons provide a bonus to resources from 1 to 10 dice. They are not depleted like cash, however. A character is taxed due to a failed resource test. The dice must be removed from the fund test first and are lost permanently. They cannot be regained via the get a job process described above. You can create a fund using your resources. Describe the form of this durable wealth: income from property, interest on accounts, a dragon sword. Test resources at an obstacle, double the amount of the fund's dice plus 1.
Okay.
You may only use one fund per resources test. So yeah, we can kind of like literally like set up, the vault fund.
Like right now we have 12 dice of cash that is not a fund.
Right.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, I'm very happy with Palara and Kohlas relationship. Judd and I talked a little bit about this, about how he's been very much off screen, and that was because they operate pretty independently quite a bit. So it's great to see it. So yeah, I think she is that. I think that's her stance, is like, okay, that's the first thing I should probably do. Then yes, let's start a fund. And has to admit, she is naive she's not a guilder. She understands guilders count coins, but she doesn't know the nuances of it,
right,
at all. So this is getting a little complicated, but do you think I should first roll to try and create a fund and then use that as part of the lifestyle test, or do you think we should do that after the lifestyle test is done?
Either way, whatever you want.
Okay. All right. Well, let's build a fund. So I want to try and make a 2-die fund, which would, obviously I would like it to be bigger, but describe the form of the durable wealth: a dragon's hoard. Nice.
Right.
The test resources is double the amount of the fund plus 1. Okay. So, and the way fund dice work is they work as helping dice on resources tests.
Right.
That's correct. But when they're taxed, they go away.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's make a 2-die fund that'll be OB5.
Cool.
And I'm going to put, I think I'm going to, if it sounds right to you, I'm going to get a helping die from, I'm going to get a helping die from Hochla.
Yep.
And I'm going to get a helping die from my title. I think you said as the clan is helping. Is that
yeah.
in it? Is that okay? I'm going to get 2 helping dice. And
so I think the clan are helping in the
lifestyle test.
Test, yeah.
Not in the fun test, right? Because they're not guilders. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So I'm rolling B3, B4 versus OB5. It's not great. Do I throw greed at this as well? Do I throw greed in twice to try and match this? Yep, I'm going to. All right. I'm going to hit this, but my greed is going to pay. I'm going to mark a difficult test. And here we go. Well, we'll see if I hit it. So I've got 1 modifier from my husband. I've got 6 from my greed. My OB is 5. Okay, I have a fund.
Cool.
Oh my goodness! If you exceed your fund, does it go up? I don't think so. I should have set a higher OB. The test for resources doubling on a fund dice plus 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, that's fine because man, I got 4 6s on that roll.
Oh shit.
But it's all good. So I have a 2D fund. All right, so now I'm trying to make a B8 lifestyle test with 2 helping dice and 2 fun dice.
Yep. Nice.
And 6 dice. Oh, and I got to mark my persona for both of those. Okay. All right. 4 helping dice. 6 Arthur dice. 8. And I hit it.
Nice.
It's all because of greed.
Yeah, I think within a few months, young Clansdwarves start coming, and they start signing up for shifts and getting to work, and I think you literally have to like figure out how to get them to stop dropping to one knee when you walk by, so like work can get done while you're excavating.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
I mean,
awesome. I think
not to get too Batman and Robin here, but I think that at some point I take on a title of like excavation chief, and it's eventually people realize who it is. I'm sure it's not like I'm going to go through like enormous amount of work to like hide my identity, but I think at some point like I just like have to take on a pseudonym just to like lessen the amount of times that people realize that their excavation chief is also their prince.
yeah.
And and probably most of them have figured it out, but I imagine there's a couple still that are just like, yeah, the chief said, go in the tunnels. I'm going in the tunnels. That at least that's Polaris hope.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Love it. That's great. Cool. And I think the next thing, like over the course of this year, there was that stone map kind of set into one wall that we kind of established, and we have a map too.
Yes, so, we do. Here, pull it up.
Yeah. So yeah, Jorge takes you over to the map and says, do you want to start at the Drunk Uncle or the Dreaming Palace?
Let's get to know our neighbors first. Yeah, tell me. They're probably the ones most affected or most wary of the spiders as well.
They are not. The Dreaming Palace closed its doors right about the time I was born, and they have not opened them.
What was that? 500 years ago? Which is a slight loving jest.
Are there other people here? Like, are there? Are the kids here? Okay.
I mean, maybe the kids, but she would say this in front of like, right?
Yeah. He like arches an eyebrow at you, and Toman sniggers like a little boy, and he says, "No missives have gone in and out. We've had no contact. The princes don't like to talk about it. No one knows what's going on there. No one has gone in. Every once in a while, there's a small host where no one thinks there should be, and they think, oh, well, that's the Dreaming Palace host, but nothing is ever confirmed. Nothing is known of our neighbor."
Do we have any, I think Polaris kind of gut instinct is I think Polaris' sort of gut instinct is to turn to her books, but she like first she says, Toman, go get the mother. Or send somebody to go get the mother, right? Like, maybe not Toman, like send somebody. And I think she pulls open some, pulls some books and tries to find out what she can. She's not really ready to just say, oh yeah, I guess we know nothing about them.
Right.
And I think the two things I'm going to try to endeavor is, one, is there any history that would tell us what would have what would have happened, why the Dreaming Prince would have locked themselves up, and two, are there any trolls that travel between the two mountains where they might have heard anything? You know,
Right.
is there been
Right.
any word? Because it's I mean, it's not close. It's I think we said it was like a month between Wheelholt and the vaults or so.
Right. Right.
So it's maybe like a week's worth of travel. I don't know, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Probably.
seems possible.
Let's say 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Maybe.
underground, that could be even longer, but you know,
Right.
over the
Right.
years, maybe word has come through. So
Right. Yeah. I love the idea of you making a some kind of history test
yeah,
or something like.
yeah, let's do that. Let's do an ancient history test.
Cool.
I'm gonna ask him which. Let's see. I think I have wises for every single dwarven heritage except for the, which I'm training, by the way. I will have it by the end of the year, but I don't have it yet. I don't think I have the dwarven noble. I know I don't have dwarven noble wise.
Right.
So I don't have that. But do we know who closed it? Like whether it was the. I'm wondering if clan or gilder, if any of those things, or if there's family there. Or if it's really a mystery in terms of who was involved with.
I think some families and clans folk and so like what you get off the obvious skim is that some folks did leave like before the closing, because like it was a clear cutoff. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, we're closing the gates and we're closing all tunnels that lead to us. We do not want contact. And you know, some people are saying like, you know, has the prince has their greed overcome them? And you know, the prince clearly was trying to make it clear that their greed did not overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a way to show that, they sent like resplendent gifts out to all of the other princes before they closed the gate, and they're like, nice. This is to show that I am not holding dearly to what I, you know, and I think the other thing you find is that like there's intermarrying, right, among the nobles. And like whenever there's like a family tree and someone from the Dreaming Palace marries in, you know, if it's a family tree where like they can write a couple of words about the person, they usually say like, and they married a noble from the Dreaming Palace, and they were fey and queer. Like they just were like everybody uses the words fey and queer, and not necessarily in a LGBTQ way, but just like in a they're strange and we don't know how to deal with them, and they don't quite fit in, but they're also kind of magical, and it's very they're very strange. So awesome. Yeah.
So I think family-wise makes sense because of all of those family connections that were probably broken and strange ones that have been formed as well. I'm wondering if there were any oaths that were sworn around this thing, and if oath-wise would be applicable. I think that's. It seems to me like this is a kind of, if some of the other dwarves swore oaths to never go knock on their doors, or if they swore oaths to never bother the other dwarves, etc. Do you think oath-wise?
No, I don't think any oaths were sworn around this. Cool. Yeah.
All right. Let's do ancient history and a broken and family wise. What's my ob?
Oh man, that's a really, really, really good question.
Yeah.
We are back in the books, folks.
Yeah.
We are back.
It's interesting when we have these like I got to get a bunch of things done games. We tend to like, cool, you know, what's Polara up to, and we have a lot of dice rolling, because it's like you got to excavate the tunnel and all these rolls to make it happen, and then
it's clearly ob 5.
It's clearly ob 5. Okay. Do you want to read off what the ob 5 difficulty is?
History of countercultural movements.
Got it. All right. Well, I'm not going to hit this, but let's find out what happens when I fail.
Yeah.
Ancient history, 1 fork. No Artha. Top 5. No, not even close. Can I? Nope, I can't even explode it.
So you're playing Burning Wheel with a librarian.
Yes.
So I think doing history tests in the vault basically means you have a call on trait.
Oh, wow.
For history test. Yeah. Like that's your hold fast special power, right?
Yeah.
Is that like wises and history tests have a call on.
All right. So once per session, I can reroll all failed dice.
Yeah. You don't have to spend it now. Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, yeah, that's the thing is I only had 2 failed dice, so I'd have to get both of them to succeed, and one of them would have to be a 6, and then I'd have to spend a fate to explode that. So I think I'm going to pass on that, but thank you, and we should definitely codify that as a trait vote. At some point.
Yeah.
I think that makes a very cool trait.
I was watching a stream of a D&D game, and a player was making an investigative roll in a library, and they didn't even get like an advantage die, and I was insulted on behalf of my profession. I was super pissed off. I don't like the, I don't think it doesn't do much good to like criticize Critical Role, but I was mad. I'm a librarian and I'm angry.
Yeah.
Critical Role. Come on now, CR. You should at least get advantage, at least. Yeah. So anyway,
I mean, there's one thing to say, well, the only way you could possibly do that investigation is under these circumstances. There's one way to say that library gave the fictional positioning, making it possible to do that investigation.
Okay. All right. You're turning me around. Okay.
But I'm not going to say no to a call on regarding research. I think that's a very cool, a very cool thing for the vault to do. I mean, I feel like I think, as we said before, each of the 7 mountains sort of has something they're known for, and vault, what the vault is known for is its library. So
love it.
So what happens? Do you think I misunderstand what's going on, or is it a dead end, or?
I think you come away like, I hate to tell you like what you're feeling. But I think you come away feeling threatened by whatever is going on there, and you think that the prince might have been mad, and you're glad people got out of there when they did, and you hope no one got hurt.
Okay.
Is like the vibe, and you can change that feeling whenever you want, however you want. But like, I think that's what history has left you with.
Yeah.
Without being able to like, and it's not that the information isn't there. It is that there's so much information that did you find the right combination of things so you can distill it and like figure out the perfect stuff.
I think what she finds to sort of justify that fear is she finds some indication of a great door being barred, and from within, something that was locked from with, like somebody heard the shuddering of this door that was meant to fend off armies, but there was no army present. There's no army coming to threat, and I think she feels like there's some Balrog or demon or horrible creature that they were trying to lock in. And that's her. I think that's what kind of instills her with fear. Is like they must have found something so horrible that revels the handmaidens that they had to lock in. So she's thinking handmaidens, they're in the earth, or something bad down there. I think that's where the fear for her comes. So could be totally wrong, but it comes out of a familiarity and misses aligning something with what's familiar to her. Yeah. So cool. Like shudder. Okay, that's terrifying.
Cool. And then he moves on as like, I think it took like a week, right?
Yeah.
And you looked up a bunch of stuff, came to a dead end, and he says, and now this is the vault. It is the 3rd oldest. I think it goes Drunk Uncle is the oldest, Wheelholt, Vault, and then like Iron God, Jewel Womb, or Kant, Dreaming Palace. So it's the third oldest. Started by a lore master, back in the day, and it became a place where we would put our history, and the family was very proud of that, and married very well. Everyone wanted like a vault husband or wife because they were very knowledgeable and
Sort of raised my eyebrow to him.
yeah, and it became the seat of the of the 7 northern holdfasts education.
I
And then
sure speculates about like the last generation, right, of would be erudite, would be educated dwarves that have missed out on that, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like we've lost a whole generation or two, I think, really, of
Yeah.
of access to this knowledge, but access to like a general level of education that is,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
higher
If,
ed
if
is
we
shut
were
down.
if we were playing, if we decided like, all right, we're going to do another 24 sessions of dwarf gaming, which I don't really want to do. I want to get to book 3 of this. And if we want to come back, we can, but I would definitely like want to make a lore master setting that like, that deals with like the monks and scribes and historians of the vault. And I would want to like make a little setting of within the dwarven stock.
We will all play librarians, and it will be
Yes.
amazing. Yes,
There will be a librarian LP. I mean, maybe like there might be like a dwarven librarian and dwarven cataloger, just because I have to.
I mean, you need to fill out the life path somehow, right? You can't just have 1 or 2. So
can't just you need a couple. So
here comes Luke, another setting
archivist
for the dwarves.
Archivist.
The archivist.
Oh shit! I'm writing this down. Anyway,
this is how horrible things happen.
He goes to the next one and he says, this is Orkant, and I think like when he says Orkant, everyone makes the sign of the wheel, in protection.
Yeah.
And he says, this was. Hundreds of years ago, this was Rune Hall, and it was a place where you went to have your fortune read. It was a place that, looked to the future and dispensed prophecies. And they didn't see it coming. They didn't see the orc assaults coming, and they were overwhelmed.
I would say that's ironic, but we all know, the cobbler's children have no shoes.
Right.
Maybe their prophecies never helped them see their own fates. I would not be surprised.
And he moves on to Wheelholt, and I think people make the sign of the wheel, but like in a more like, I'm talking about something holy. And he says, I don't have to say much about this. It's where we were born and raised. It is the holiest of the holdfasts. It is where the archmage comes when there is an archmage, and when such a auspicious being is born, our prince bends our holdfast towards supporting them and making sure that the magic is used for noble purposes. And Judd says, setting up everything about the next campaign.
Yeah, I was gonna
say. And also holding it so that so that mages can test themselves, and when they burn because they are not worthy, their ashes are stored, and it's a holy place. People come from all over the world and make a pilgrimage here. It is a special holdfast, and our prince is known for his his wisdom and his caution and his caring. And then I think there's like hissing as he moves over to Iron God. And he says, Iron God, if you look down the river, you will see that there are human dukes all up and down the Ostofair River, or as we call it, the Iron River. They sell their host as mercenaries. They sell a lot of their steel and iron to the Iron Dukes along the river. And because of that, they have a lot of strange human ideas about the way things should be done. They are always up for a fight. They are weaponsmiths without peer. The prince there is Kyara. She's bloodthirsty. She is looking for glory. Our son, may the wheel bless him, did a lot of damage to her hosts by fighting in a style that no dwarf has ever seen another dwarf use. They say he fights like an elf. Whatever. He came home to us, so I don't care how he fought.
He fights like a clan dwarf, digging tunnels.
She will almost certainly come to the wedding if invited. If you want a prince who is going to back you into going to war against the spiders, she's the one. She's the one we know will be for it. Much of the weapons, not all of the weapons, but a lot of the weapons that the Holdfast use come out of Iron God. She also has ties to the Iron Dukes, so if we wanted to mobilize them, she might be able to see that happen. She's the only prince here who I think, no, without a doubt, will support your war against the spiders.
Despite all that, you seem to have a lot of reservations.
She tried to kill you and my children. I have reservations. Of course I do. Let's move on. And I think, like, yeah, he's clearly upset. He says the Jewel Womb is said to have some of the richest tunnels in all of the world. Their prince is a young prince named Chiesa. His father went into extreme debt with the Guilders, and it is said that Chiesa cannot do anything without the Guilders' permission. His father was a inveterate gambler. He gambled away the family's fortune, and Chiesa is living with that.
Question to you, Jed. Geographically, the Guilders sound like they kind of exist a little bit outside of a hold, right? Like that
they're kind of everywhere.
They're kind of everywhere. And so there's ostensibly Guilders in the Jewel Womb, but it's not, but he doesn't have the authority over them to just say, give me the money. He's in debt to them. And so it sounds to me like it's the Guilders, but not just necessarily of the Jewel Womb, but maybe the Guilders as a whole that he has to kind of, or maybe not as a whole, but there are Guilders probably throughout the many princedoms that he owes money to, and so he's kind of beholden to many of them.
In my head, like each holdfast has its host and has its noble families, and the Guilder, like, so that's like, you know, each little thing, and the Guilders are like the river of peanut butter between all those pieces of bread,
right,
that just go everywhere, right? So I think the Guilder is the Guilder. I like the Guilder. The Guilder is, I think, an organization, like a a mercantile organization that
Yep.
flows throughout all of it.
It's
And I
not
think it's
beholden to a
got
particular hold fast. Yeah.
no, and I think nobles were really nervous about what happened with the jeweled womb, right? Like it's a definite cautionary tale.
Hmm.
It's like don't get into too much debt with them because they will own you. And
So the
yeah,
Guilders are frankly another entity among like
yeah,
invisible on the map, but
yeah,
certainly powerful.
yeah,
They're
definitely.
inviting powerful Guilders to the wedding may not be a bad idea as well if we want to ensure that this war that we're planning could be funded.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Without a doubt. Like I see the clansmen as like, you know, and the artificers as like the kind of working class, and
Mhm.
then the guilders are kind of like the ones who keep it all. They keep track, right? They keep the books,
Yeah.
and yeah, uh, yeah. So yeah, I think he says like that he's seen as a weak prince. Um, he might be viable.
How bad is his dad? Does it know?
It is. I don't know that for sure.
Polara sort of look like like there's a part of her that's like there's like a tug in the back of her mind, and like she's just sort of like twitches in the direction of where the you know the ancient the dragon's hoard is holed up. You know, it's just like what would it mean if she paid off another prince's debt? You know,
Right.
how much indebted? Because not only would he be indebted, I think she'll say this out loud. Actually, she's like, just hear this out as a thought experiment. I don't particularly want to have another prince who I don't particularly want to have another prince who owes great debt to me necessarily or to the vault. But I think the dwarven princes as a whole would feel much better if there wasn't one of them that was so beholden to the guilders, because that gives the guilders strength over all of the princes
Right.
to have that hold over
Right.
over Chiesa. Not that the debt shouldn't be paid, but I wonder if I don't know. I'm not sure between the princes and the guilders. I'm not sure if strengthening either one of them is particularly wise. But
Right.
and our final drunk uncle.
They like to call themselves the leaning uncle. This is the eldest of the holdfasts. The mountain seems to lean to the west. Uh, not only is it the oldest holdfast, but Prince Zargon is the eldest of the princes. She is known as being very orthodox, very wise, and damn near unkillable.
Like her already.
I'm not sure she's going to like you. I think he looks at Timon and he says, "Could you leave us for a moment?" And Timon says, no, actually, you know what?" He says, "Give me a glass of nog." He's much smoother than that. He's an old trader, right?
Yeah.
And he says, "Timon, I don't want to go down to the basement, and the servants are all asleep. Give me a glass of nog." And he's like, I'm a princeling. And he was like, "I will slap you. I will slap the beard right off of you." And he's like, I can't believe this. And when Timon is gone, he says, there is a thought that marrying Bella to Gaffi is not the most political move you could have made. If you were to marry her to one of Zargon's children or grandchildren, it would give us an alliance that Gaffy is not going to be able to give us. And that Gaffy's family can't give us.
Gaffy's clan, and he was the only one here with me when I was digging in these tunnels. He is my first attendant, and he did not come from nobility, but he is noble in my eyes, and he has earned my respect, but more importantly, he's won Bella's heart, and I would not tell her otherwise.
Nice. I think he he kisses her cheek and he says, I'm glad that the iron circle on your head has not changed you. Good. So they're going to hate us.
Yep. Okay.
And that's just the way it is. And your children will have to get busy and give us grandchildren so we can start marrying them into these nobles, because they are not going to like us until we do.
It's a long game. And the humans to the south don't have time for us to make, won't have time to for our grandchildren to save them, our grandchildren's marriages to save them. So I hoped to get as many of the princes behind me as I could. If Zargon is immutable, then so be it. Perhaps I can find something else that she cares about, but there's a lot to do.
There is a lot to do.
Let's get to it, and I think we have kind of like a practice time training / preparations / lifestyle. Oh, we made the lifestyle test, but still, / what it looks like to succeed in that lifestyle test. Over the course of the rest of the year, before the wedding. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds great.
I made a little spreadsheet, as I'm wont to do, of Polara's practice time. I did not go quite as hog wild as I did last time, mostly because I just sort of did this right now, but also because I thought she has a few hours in the day. I still spent like 16. I just didn't spend 18. So what I had her test. Oops, that's not right. Let's try that again. What I had her. Let's see. Let's be crafty about this. Switch back to the heads up screen. What I had her test or practice was instruction, spider wise, if that's reasonable from the books.
Cool.
Research, elf-wise, which I had already started, but I think I'm gonna unlock. Excavation, which it took a whole year to get a test, but that's all I need is one more test.
Nice.
Administration and Centaurus debate.
Great. And are those being opened, or are you just kind of being tested?
Centaurus debate is going to be raised to B4. Excavation is going to be raised to B5, and the other ones are all new ones that are getting unlocked.
Yeah.
So it's a
whole.
Polara has a lot of skills.
Yeah.
Her B6 will is really paying off in this, because it means that her training time is a lot lower than it could be otherwise. So let's see if I can make this display nicely.
And I think like the whole in you, other than in the nobles, right? So you don't have too much of a host. You've got like you've got some, but I think it's probably a pretty small group compared to the other hosts and the other holdfasts. You've got a really strong base of clans. You've got like good goat herds,
good miners,
good miners. The money is coming in. You don't have a lot of links to the artificers, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just a part of the and the nobles. It's like it's just a part of the society that you just haven't delved into yet.
Right.
And as I said, if we were like, if this game was going to be about setting up this, Polaris dynasty, uh, then we might want to make some circles rolls to like pull in some artificers and
Yep.
convince them that they want to stay in the vault and all that fun stuff. But you've got some good links to guilders, one of your son and your husband. And also I think you don't need links to guilders. The guilders just show up
Right.
and start, I think they've got like a layer of offices and warehouses, like, in the Holdfast. It was built this way. And so I think they just move in
Yeah.
and start doing shit and start
Right.
like moving ore out of here. And the mercantile machine just starts moving. Is there anything else we want to do before folks start showing up?
I mean, honestly, I think the practice that I'm doing, because I am unlocking, oh my goodness, why do I keep clicking on the wrong thing? Because I am unlocking Dwarven Noblewise, I am
Yeah.
unlocking Elfwise, I am unlocking, those are, I think, the big ones. Because I'm
Yeah.
unlocking those, a lot of what that reflects in my mind is, is sort of building off of what my husband has already
Yeah.
told me, so that I can try and get an in on these dwarves. And I think rather than like say I want to make more wise tests now to see if I can have something, I think in the moment I'm gonna ask you, could I have planned something, a good gift, and we can make a roll when it
Yeah.
comes, when the gift is delivered, to see if it's
Yeah.
a good present, if it's
Yeah.
applicable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's a lot of what she's trying to do, is learn about the people who are coming to visit, so she can make gifts and offers that would appeal to them, and also to kind of hedge her bets and figure out like who she thinks is even worth trying, right? Maybe Prince Sargon is not even worth courting, right? Give her all the respect, but don't expect her to be an ally if she's going to be that tough, and focus
Right.
on people who would be willing. But for what it's worth, she's inviting all the princes and the Aetherarch to the wedding, right? So there's an invitation sent to all of them.
Cool.
Should we?
Yeah, and I think every prince, but Orkant and the Dreaming Palace reply and say that will be coming, and the Aetherarch does too. I think you get like an Elvish outrider at one of your border forts.
Nice.
Who says like, yeah, they kind of hand it off to one of your son's soldiers, and they come back and say, yep, they're on their way. They're bringing. She asks your permission basically to bring every sword and spear she has, and camp in the valley between the vault and the Dreaming Palace. She asks for that permission because that's a lot of elves, and that's people are nervous, right?
It's a lot of elves. That's a lot of swords and a lot of spears and bows.
Yeah.
And I think she gets a very sort of a very formal kind of reply that is, you would honor us to attend. Please take this route.
Yeah.
Right. Like here's the way that we ensure that there's no one that gets too afraid, and that's, take this path, and we'll know your,
Yeah.
your where you are and everything's fine. Cool.
And I think I think like so. I want to take a break, but
Yeah,
I feel like having unlocked Dwarven Noble Wise, I feel like the pressure that you realize is on your position, but not necessarily on you, right? So I'm not saying like make a belief about this, because I don't think it's necessarily interesting to Sean or even interesting to Polara, but like what is expected of you. The textbook noble move would be to marry your sons lickety split,
right,
and not make Bella your heir. Make you know make Hirtho the heir, and marry him well, and marry him into a family that maybe doesn't like you very much, so that you've got peace. Like marry him Iron Gods, or marry him Leaning Uncle,
right,
and make sure that your back is covered, because Polara is probably a pretty safe bet. So yeah, and that the gifts they get are going to be a big deal. Like them coming here is a big test, and it doesn't happen often because it's very fucking expensive.
right,
And like to the point where like you read about like shuffling back and forth of like, we can't have the wedding in our hold fast, sorry, like we found a troll, like, oh sorry, like there was a troll in the tunnels, just not safe. I'd love to do it, but we can't do it. And there's like even like clan, probably like your clan wise finds tunneler marginalia that's like, yeah, when the prince says I hope there are no trolls before the wedding, wink wink, we know that it's time to find a troll so that they can bow out, because it's just super expensive to have to feast everybody and have to gift them. Like it's just a big deal. Like this is, you're going to be telling them what you think of them.
Yep.
But on the other hand, I don't want to tell you what you need to be doing. I don't want to like add to a task list. And I feel like in some of these types of games, what'll happen is the beliefs will turn into like this weird task list. And it's like, do what you want. Like there'll just be consequences. It's not a big deal. I still want you to like follow the parts of the world that you're interested in, and what will be will be.
And I think those are all of those sort of concerns are great, are great rationalizations to be forking in Noble Wise when Polara does sort of address them, and they're great consequences for failed rolls, whether Polara addresses them or not. Of like, well, you did your best, but you didn't marry your son, so she's pissed at you, right? Like that's a very reasonable, without having to make it be like, okay, let me back up on my beliefs and change them to, I will make peace with this dwarf by doing this thing.
Right,
I'll make peace with this dwarf by doing this
no.
thing, right? Yeah. So I appreciate that, and I think it offers good context, because I'm not terribly interested in the like you said, if we were doing 24 sessions of this game, I think that would be a very cool thing to delve into. But what's on Polara's mind is the 8 handmaidens and the destruction that they've caused below, and she is very personally responsible for that. And I think to the extent where that might prevent her from being as good a leader as she could be, or as good a politicker as she could be, because she's definitely got a weakness, which is her desire to deal with that. So,
and like, so the way, just like taking a big step back, like book 1 was Bina Janos, book 2 is going to be Polara, book 3 is going to be Bina's daughter, the mage, possibly the archmage. And if when we're done with that, we look back and say, let's go back to Polara and play like, another book of dwarf dynastic, whatever. That was fun. Then we can totally like rewind, I could even see that in a book series happening where like the trilogy is done and the author is like, oh, I'm going to write a standalone novel just about
A
Polara's
spin-off, yeah.
dynasty. It's not going to be a trilogy, or maybe it is a trilogy. Maybe we say like, okay, we're going to play a couple generations of the Vault.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like I just feel like that's, on the table. So
Right. Yeah. We
whatever
have
we'd like.
we have the Crystal Shard, the Halflings Gem, right?
Yes.
We have that series, right? That's about all the characters, and then we
Right.
can
Right.
tell the Polaris story, because she was
Right.
definitely the hero of that. Yeah.
Right. She was our favorite. Yeah. She's clearly like the breakout Dritz
Yeah. I mean, Bina's story was just so
of this
perfectly
thing. Yeah.
wrapped at the
It's
end.
better than to be compared to Dritz Doran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, friends. We're gonna go take a couple minute break, and we'll be back shortly to see how the wedding goes and all that jazz. So, see you all in a second.